Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. We're with Grant Gordy. Grant is a great acoustic and electric player, lovely guy who's been on the show before, and he has a new record out, and I wanted to turn you on to it. It's called Interpreter. It's a really pretty jazz record. Let me go into Grant's background. A quick note, just make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/subscribe and subscribe to the YouTube channel and the show if you haven't already. So as I said, Grant was on the show a couple of years back. In case you missed his initial show, you can hear it. I'm going to add it to the end of today's show. He's got a really great story. He's a very kind and sincere person. And he's like my favorite kind of guy. He's like the underdog who made it. And he's just got a really good story, besides being a super talented composer and player. He held the guitar chair in the David Grisman Quintet for 6 years. He's also worked alongside great artists like Edgar Meyer, Steve Martin, Tony Trischka, and Darol Anger. He's performed all over North America and Europe, everywhere from Carnegie Hall to Montreal Jazz Festival, Jazz at Lincoln Center to Bonnaroo. He's also been profiled on NPR and in most major acoustic guitar magazines for his jazz and bluegrass talents. He's currently living in New York City. He's released 3 solo records, including a duo with guitarist Ross Martin. His latest record, as I mentioned, is a really cool jazz record called Interpreter. Dude, before we get started, congratulations. You got married since the last time.
I did. It's true.
And you're still married.
Still married. Yeah, we got married that way.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations. I remember you guys were dating and you were like, well, thinking about getting married. We don't really know. And then I saw it on social media. I was happy for you. So this is straight ahead jazz record, Interpreter, and you are playing electric, and that's kind of a departure for you.
Well, in some ways it is, in terms of my like recorded output.
Yeah.
It's a bit the reason I felt like I needed to do it is because it's actually it's a thing I've been doing and working on for a long time. But I've had this funny, to me, this kind of funny dichotomy going on for years, where like all of my career, such as it is, has existed like all in this kind of Americana, like roots music, bluegrass, folk music world. So whenever I go on tour, I never have to like schlep an amp around. I've always just got my guitar, and that's like funny. That's been kind of my whole world, like as far as like getting out there, on the road and recording and stuff like that. And whenever I'm home, and this was true before I lived in New York, and also since I've lived here, just studying jazz and kind of like getting involved in the local jazz scene has been just such a passion for me. So I've been like, I just love that music so much. I just love to learn standards and still trying to learn how to like play bebop language, and and it's been kind of this, even though I kind of grew up in this world of like folk music, and that's my home, and that's like my endemic language. I've always had this other foot, in being so obsessed with jazz, and so when I'm home, like when I'm in town, like I play jazz gigs and I get together and play sessions with people. But I just hit this point where it's like, man, at some point I should really try to put it out into the world that this is actually a thing I do, and I'll even have, times if somebody comes to see me play a gig, in town where I'm playing electric guitar. Some people, I've heard people at several points say like, oh, I didn't even know you played electric guitar.
Oh, that's cool. That's good.
Cool. So it's just funny that it's this thing that it's been part of my world for a long time, but it's just always been a little bit under wraps or something,
Well, what prompted you to do this then? So it was just like, I guess you explained it, but what was the trigger that finally said, you know what, I'm going to make this?
Man, that's a good question. I think.
Looking to buy or sell a home in the Tampa Bay area without having to deal with pushy realtors? Then make sure you connect with West Florida Real Estate. West Florida Real Estate has helped over 300 homeowners and investors buy and sell their properties over the last 5 years. Their service is outstanding, just like back in the days when there was actually service in the service business, and you'll never have to deal with any kind of sales junk when you're working with them. For more information, email Ann with an E at westfloridarealestate.com. That's ANNE at westfloridarealestate.com. If you're enjoying this show and you'd like to support it, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/support. And for information on advertising, visit everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise.
Looking back now, so I made it, actually just about a year ago that we tracked. So I think part of it was preparing to get married. And I know that sounds funny, but I think part of it was like, okay, we're kind of stepping forward into this new stage of life, and you know, it feels like, okay, I'm getting a little bit older, and it just kind of felt like, man, I've never really, like, I've been, you know, like I said, playing jazz gigs and stuff, and been so into that music, but I've never really like made a statement using this vehicle, like as far as like making a record, and just kind of felt like, man, I gotta just do this, and even if it feels like it's never going to be as good as Wes Montgomery or Kurt Rosenwinkel, you know, still.
Yeah, which is not a good way to think of anything. You know, it's like, I'm going to play golf, but I'm not as good as Tiger Woods. Maybe I should just stay home.
Yeah. So I think it was partially that thing of like, well, you know, I'm kind of moving into this new stage, and now's the time, right? I mean, now's the time. If you want to do something, you gotta just do it. And so I was like, man, okay, fuck it. Like I had a little bit of time, and so I found a studio, and I booked the studio, and I gave myself 6 weeks to get it as together as I could get it. And then I just made myself like bear down for that time. And I mean, I'm sure I was still working or whatever, but I wasn't on the road during that time. So I had that period of time to really try to get it as together as I could. And yeah, that's pretty much the story.
Good for you. So your marriage that was good. That was a good like catalyst. So you said, hey man, I'm doing this. This is new. This is a new chapter in my life. That's nice, man. Very cool.
I think that was like I said, looking back now, I think that was a good part of the motivation.
That's good. That's nice, man. I don't usually ask about titles, but interpreter, that's just a cool name. What was that about? Like, what made you call it that? Just your interpreter. Sorry.
So a lot of it is about, so I've been thinking a lot about how I really don't like genres that much. I don't like to think about genre as a thing. I think it's kind of sort of a jive like perspective to take. I mean, I understand that there are like cultures and traditions, and I feel that's really, really important. And there's like language and dialect, all those things are really important and real. Genre is more like, to me, feels more like, you know, how you're going to sell something, which like, you know, that I don't care. But I do think that, you know, so I kind of grew up playing bluegrass, and not always like really straight ahead bluegrass, but bluegrass like David Grisman and that kind of like, you know, what they call like progressive music. So it's very much grounded in this language, this vernacular of like American folk music, fiddle tunes, you know, just like the folk music tradition, completely uninstitutionalized, very social music, you know, very, you know, informal. That's the world that I grew up in. And so I feel like that language or that dialect of music, if you want to put it that way, that's maybe a good way to put it. It's like a dialect.
Yeah.
Is comfortable for me to whatever degree. Like I feel pretty okay, you know, playing bluegrass and stuff. And I was just thinking, like, you know, jazz, although it's this dialect that I've been working on for a long time, most of my life now. It's not a tradition I grew up with. So it's still kind of like a second language in some ways. And so I was just thinking about, okay, well, this is my interpretation of this language, and it's not endemic for me. Like, it's not my, you know, but it's one that I feel really, you know, invested in. I was also thinking the other part of it. I was thinking about there's this novel that I actually haven't read, but I think we have it on the bookshelf, and it's called Interpreter of Maladies. And I think it's a collection of short stories. I can't. The author is an Indian person, but I don't remember the name. But anyway, and I was thinking, Interpreter of Melodies is like a cool title, because it's like I'm interpreting melodies that I think are really cool. But that's a little too corny, because it's like a little too close to.
Yeah, it's right. Interpreter is like more mysterious and like compelling as a title than Interpreter of Melodies.
Yeah, so I was talking about that with Sophia, and she's having dinner one night. She said, "Well, what about just Interpreter?" Oh yeah, that's great. And I was really struggling with what to call it.
Dude, you got to keep her around. You get a lot of productivity. New record title. I mean, keep her around, man.
Yeah, I was kind of struggling with the title for a while. Like everything was mixed and finished, and the music was all done. I just didn't know what to call it. I kind of thought about maybe something like nondescript, like standards or something. Kind of thought about calling it like Grant Gordy lowers your standards.
That's pretty funny. No, but you can't do that at a professional level. Yeah, that's like a good joke with your buddies, but yeah.
I did consider it, but threw that one out. So I was kind of hung up on it for a while, and then that made sense, and it sort of really fit in with that idea of like there are these different dialects of the musical language, and this is my interpretation of this dialect.
Right on, man. Where'd you record the record? You said in a studio in Brooklyn?
Yeah, it's a studio in Brooklyn. It's this guy named Bennett Pastor has a home studio, and I asked around with friends, and I was trying to find something that was close and would be a good place to do it. And yeah, my friend Jim Whitney is really a wonderful bassist who plays with the Andy Statman Trio, and we played a bunch of gigs together over the years. He recommended this guy Bennett, and so I just looked up Bennett's website. It's called Benny's Wash and Dry Studio.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I looked it up, and he had some nice sounding samples, on his website. I called him, and we set it up, and so it was cool. It didn't feel like I was killing myself trying to do it at Sear Sound or something.
Yeah. Did he mixed, mastered, and engineered it there?
He engineered it and he mixed it, and then I had somebody else master it.
Very cool. It sounds great. It sounds like it was mixed very well.
Job, and it's in some ways it's a pretty simple format, like we're doing live, and we actually, with the exception of one tune, we tracked the whole thing in one day.
Holy shit! And so tell them who else is on the record. It's all three of you, right?
Yeah. So it's a what they call a guitar trio. So it's guitar, bass, drums, like piano trio except guitar. And the bassist is a guy named Aidan O'Donnell, who's a pretty old friend at this point. He grew up in Scotland, but he's been living here for a long time, and he's just one of those one of the workingest bass players, playing jazz gigs every night. And he was also on the road for a long time with the Steve Kuhn trio. Like Steve's like one of those kind of what's the word? Just one of those kind of legendary older players, with Billy Drummond on drums. And
what's his name? So Billy Drummond.
Billy Drummond is the drummer in the Steve Kuhn trio.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so Aidan is just just rock solid, beautiful player. And also we've been playing a lot of bluegrass together over the years. So
you had a vibe already.
Yeah. So so he knows, a million standards and has played a million jazz gigs, and also, can play bluegrass. And when I last summer or summer before, is it already summer before? Anyway, whenever that was.
I know there's no, you know what, man? I see people on social media what's today? Monday. There's no
time doesn't.
I'm an early riser naturally, but like I normally would set my alarm just because I want to make sure I'm up doing my, in time to get some prep work done and get to the
Yeah,
gym. The gym's closed. There's no gym. So I don't set my alarm. I still get up early, but I don't, isn't that weird?
it is. It's weird. I mean, just all that stuff is kind of, we're in this time warp. Things are kind of out the window. So
It is.
it's affecting my chronological memory as well. But
No, that's old age. Trust me. It's gonna get
yeah,
it's gonna get worse, Grant. I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
so I did. There's this festival in Colorado, Rocky Grass. It's kind of one of those like gold standard bluegrass festivals. And I finally was able to play with my own quartet, and that was and Aiden was in that quartet with me.
Oh,
We've
right
been
on.
doing gigs with my band. When Mr. Sun, the band with Darol Anger, and Joe Walsh plays. Aiden in that gig as well. So
It's Joe K. Walsh.
okay, Walsh. I'm so sorry. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I would never deign to miss that important distinction. But anyway, so Aiden and I have like a pretty deep history at this point of doing a lot of different things together. And, so that, he's just the easiest guy to play with.
That's cool.
And on drums for this record is a guy named Alwyn Robinson, who I actually met when I'm pretty sure he was still in college in Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's a few years younger than me, and I met him when I was living in Denver, and even at that time he was like, I think he kind of grew up with like doing like kind of hardcore like classical percussion, but also can play jazz, and I believe his dad is a pretty renowned classical percussion teacher.
Oh, cool.
Grew up in Texas, and he he was just one of those people, even when he was really young and in college, he was like, I don't know if you know the trumpeter Ron Miles. He's
I don't.
a trumpeter who lives in Denver, but plays all over the world. Just one of the great trumpeter and flugelhornists of our time. Beautiful composer. Plays with Bill Frisell a lot. Just great guy. And anyway, Ron Miles was like hiring Alwyn when Alwyn was still in college. And just one of those guys, just like had it all together at a very early age, and just
That's
just
cool.
unbelievable chops. And so I've known him for a long time, and we've been on a couple of recording sessions together over the years, and done a little bit of playing. But it just kind of felt like, okay, I know he's great when finally I'm like making myself do this record. He's really the guy I would like to hear on this project. So even though this particular trio, myself and Aiden and Alwyn hadn't really done anything together, it just felt like this could be a cool chemistry.
So he flew in. Is he still in Colorado, or is he?
Yeah, he's living here now.
Oh, okay, great. So you guys just went in the studio, locked up for a day, and did it.
Pretty much it. I had 2 days booked.
That's pretty ambitious, even 2 days. That's good.
I just figured get as much done as we can, and
Yeah.
So and I went back and I think I did a couple overdubs on the second day. So yeah, we did one long day the first day, and then I think there was a day in between where we didn't do anything. And then I think actually Alwyn he flew to a gig in Colorado on the day off in between. And then like travel was messed up. There was like a storm in Denver. And so he didn't get back to the studio until pretty late on the second day of tracking.
Okay.
Like I did a little bit of overdubbing, and we did some edits like on that second day, but we only had time for just a little bit of tracking on that second day because he didn't get studio till really late. But we had actually gotten every tune done except for that one last tune, which was crazy. Like we got almost the entire thing finished. And yeah, ended up doing a little bit of editing after the fact, but all the tracking was done. So I'm pretty pleased. Like I've definitely done like my first record that I made, which is my own name. I mean, that was like unbelievably, we like basked in time in that whole thing. I mean, I flew everybody when I was living in Denver. It's 11 years ago. I flew everybody to Denver, and rehearsed for a week, and then we like played a gig, and then we recorded for a week.
Oh my God. So that was the most expensive record you ever made.
I mean, it was a little expensive, yeah. But also we were all really young, and and everybody was kind of, everybody was just kind of down to hang. It was kind of
Yeah.
before everybody. In fact, Paul, the bassist, he had just joined the Punch Brothers, like when we made that record. So he was just out of college, like he had just finished Curtis Institute, and I think both Alex and Dominic were still in Berkeley. So it was like
okay.
So everybody was still really young, and it was, so we kind of had this luxury of time, yeah. So anyway, I've gone, both ways, where I've taken a ton of time to, work really hard on lots of minutia, and then other sessions where you just kind of pop in and kind of do it. Yeah.
So the record, if I'm not mistaken, they're all jazz standards, your own arrangements of jazz standards.
Yeah, some more, kind of well worn, like certainly like How Deep Is the Ocean has been recorded a billion times, and trying to remember what else is on there.
Well, I like the last song, Elk River Blues. I thought it was really pretty.
Oh, that one is not a jazz standard. That is that's actually a West Virginia fiddle tune, and I just thought, I mean, obviously coming kind of from a different world, but it's just such a beautiful melody. It's just a great piece, and like you can go and find the original recording by this guy Ernie Carpenter it's on YouTube, and he's a West Virginia fiddler, and he wrote it. I think they were damming the Elk River, and in the process, like, it was like rerouting it and washing his house away. And so he wrote that tune about that, which is just super intense.
Ernie Carpenter?
Ernie Carpenter, yeah.
Thanks.
So it's, it's like an old timey fiddle tune, but it just seemed like, I've played a lot of like free music, and I thought it would just be kind of a cool, like it's a tune that I've always really loved, and for years now, and thought it would just be kind of a nice thing to sort of do a treatment of in that context, and have had Alex Hargraves play fiddle on that. And so that's the one. That's not a jazz tune, but everything else, Old Folks is like, old, classic ballad, and the
like Strange Feeling. I also like that one very much.
Yeah, thanks. That's probably the least well known of those tunes, I would say. I don't know a lot of recordings of that one. I found it it's written by Billy Strayhorn, who was, kind of Duke Ellington's right-hand man, and one of the great composers of the 20th century. And I have this record of Billy Strayhorn just playing solo piano. And it's cool because you can kind of hear how he's hearing his interpretations of the harmony and the voices of, these pieces of his. And I remember, I'm pretty sure it's got like, Lush Life, which is like his classic song, and got some other kind of more well-known pieces on there. But I remember the first time I heard that tune, Strange Feeling, on this record, on the Billy Strayhorn record, and it's just so spooky, it's got such a spooky feeling, and it just really struck me. So I thought, man, someday I'm gonna figure out a way to record that one. And so it just, it's just a nice opportunity to play some of these pieces that I've loved for a long time, like finally have a context, to work them up. And it's a lot of fun.
Do you have a favorite track?
That's a good question. I like the different tunes for different reasons, and I think there's like, they all have kind of different, each one has a different vibe. I think in some ways my favorite might be Old Folks, just because I really like to play slow ballads, and it's not that it's necessarily like the best playing on the record or anything like that, but it's just, I just like it. I like slow
Yeah.
ballads. I like to play it. So, so it might be that just because it just feels so good to play, you know.
Sure.
Whereas there's like Whale, for example, the first tune is, you know, it's kind of a up tempo like bebop tune, and it's, you know, playing fast is hard.
Hell
so,
yeah.
so that feels
Especially
more like,
you, the way you play, man. You're not playing simple stuff. This is,
well, I'm just, you know, trying to stay with the form is what it feels like, you know. So
but you did great. These are nice, really nice arrangements of these songs,
thanks,
man.
I
Yeah, you
appreciate
did
it.
a really nice job on it, you know, and you made them yours, which was really cool.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of the, you know, one of the great things about, I mean, hopefully any music, but particularly with, you know, this tradition of jazz is like, you know, you want to, you know, you want to express your personality and your perspective when you know, even if you're interpreting standards or whatever, it's like, you know, you want to hopefully, you know, be seen as, you know, as what you have to express, how you feel about or view the world in some way, um, which is a wonderful thing.
Were you touring with this or playing these tunes out before this whole mess happened?
I mean, some of these tunes I've just been playing for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've been, you know, when I would play a standards gig somewhere, like, you know, like occasionally I'll play, there's this club, the Bar Next Door in the West Village, where
Oh,
it's kind
where's
of like,
that?
it's on, what is it on? Oh God, Christopher Street, I should know.
Oh, so it's way west.
Yeah, I want to look it up. I should know. I've been there enough times. I just can't ever remember
Yeah, I've
anything.
never heard that. That's weird.
Um, okay, I'm going to tell you. Oh, I'm sorry. It's on McDougal Street.
Oh, okay, right downtown by the park. Very
Um,
cool. The bar next door.
it's cool. So it's sort of the, you know, tiny little place, but it's kind of like the jazz guitar spot. You know, it's like
Every place in New York that's a jazz place is a tiny. Even the 55 Club. I thought it was like, you know, they're all like, you're in there. It's like, you know, it's not.
yeah, none of them are like these big lavish spots.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bar Next Door is like, I remember before I lived in New York, I would, you know, listen to like bootlegs of, you know, like Lage Lund or Peter Bernstein at the Bar Next Door, and it's like, oh
Oh,
man,
that's cool.
it'd be so cool to play there someday, you know. And then I remember when like getting my first gig there, I was like, oh, this is so great and scary. I'm getting to play at this, you know, it's, and again, tiny little club, but for me, it's such a personal milestone to get to play, you know, where I, you know, this place where I've, you know, gone to see or listen to recordings of, you know, some of my favorite musicians.
Yeah, it's a huge milestone, man. All those
Yeah,
little jazz clubs.
yeah. I mean, it's
Because they're
such a,
not inviting anybody in there that's not a badass. You know, that's the truth of it.
yes. But so anyway, so if I do a gig like that or whatever, just any other kind of jazz gig around town, I might, you know, you just kind of call tunes and say, you know, well, you know, the last couple of weeks I've been working on this one, so maybe I'll try this one tonight. So a lot of these pieces are things that I've maybe had a relationship with over the years and maybe didn't play for a long time. Like the tune Joshua, I used to play with this, just get together and play with this tenor saxophone player in Colorado, and I remember he turned me on to the there's this period of Miles Davis's music in between what they call the first great quintet and the second great quintet. So the first great quintet was John Coltrane and Red Garland and Paul Chambers and I guess Jimmy Cobb on those records. Uh, I can't. I'm sorry, I'm not thinking straight. But anyway, and the second great quintet was like Tony Williams and Wayne Shorter and Herbie Hancock um, and all those folks. And in between that was kind of this transition period where, and he put Miles made a record called Four and More and My Funny Valentine, which are kind of these classics, just classics. And on one of those, they do this tune Joshua, and it's just kind of like a, you know, it's a challenging tune. I remember getting together with this guy, and we used to just play it, and it would really kick my ass. And I worked on it, and it's got these kind of hard little hits that happen in the melody, and sort of it's challenging to improvise over. And uh, and then I just sort of forgot about it for years. And as I was getting ready to do this record, I remember Aiden saying like, "Oh, hey man, have you ever played that tune Joshua? Like, I don't know if that would even work like in guitar trio format, but yeah, let's check that out." And so I was like, "Oh man, I haven't thought about that tune in years." And so it was a good opportunity to
Oh, that's
revisit this
cool.
piece. Yeah, it's fun. You get these relations. I'm sure you have these relationships with songs. Even if it's a song with words or whatever. But the way it feels to play a certain kind of chord progression, or the way it feels to play a certain kind of melody. It's like you have this intimacy with the music, and then you might, it's a relationship like anything else, and you might not think about it for a while, and then you come back and it's like, oh yeah, that's that thing, and it's still, you might have a different perspective, but it can still feel like the same. You still feel that same intimacy with that thing, or maybe we'll bring you back to this old time where you used to, you know, you were living in that place, when you
Yeah.
used to play that song a lot or whatever it is. It's just nice. Yeah, some of these tunes, like like Old Folks, for example, uh, it's just one of those ones. Like I like the tune, and it's kind of always on my list of tunes I need to learn, and it just took me a long time to learn it. And then I was on this trip. I was in England in between I was in between a working trip in Finland, and then I was gonna go on a holiday in Italy with Sophia, and I had a few days just to hang out in the UK. And during that time, I was like, well, I should finally learn that tune, Old Folks. And so it always brings me back to that time where I was
Well,
staying with
you're
this friend in
That's
London, and
cool.
I like took the train, from London to Devon to go see some other friends, and I remember specifically like sitting on the train and listening to like every version of Old Folks that I could find, to kind of get it in my ear. It just will always kind of take me back to that specific time.
That's nice, man. It's like you have some friends from high school, maybe, or you have some friends from different periods of your life, and you just
Yeah,
when you're with them, it's easy because of that.
yeah, exactly. And music can be the same thing, which is lovely.
Hey, once things get back to normal, post-apocalyptic coronavirus,
Yeah.
what are you looking forward to most, personally and musically?
Boy, that's a good question. I mean, I think just playing with people again, which
Yeah,
which 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 fits both of those bills really,
sure.
because it's for me like music is so much. I mean, so much of music is about the relational aspect. What it feels like to you're communicating with other people, and when you're performing, you're communicating with the audience as well. And uh, so that aspect, I definitely miss it. I mean, I love this kind of solitary, like just being able to practice and
Yeah,
study
yeah,
music and
when it's voluntary.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, when you just say, "Hey, I'm gonna hang out for a couple of weeks while I'm on downtime." Yeah, that's
right,
it's easy to like that,
yeah,
appreciate it.
and in some ways, it's like, man, this is kind of, I mean, everybody's busy, and I spend a lot of time on the road, and in some ways, it's like, man, this is pretty nice to not have to go anywhere. Like this
Yeah.
is probably nearing the longest I've been home ever, maybe, without going on the road. Or it certainly will be by the time this is over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so again, so it's easy for me in some ways to be home, practice, do all that stuff. But man, I do miss playing with people. I miss like that relational aspect of music and working on stuff together,
Yeah.
and just in general, So there's that aspect of it. But also, I would like to go out and like tour behind this new record some, which I haven't done at all, obviously, because nobody's touring or even playing gigs. But so I want to do that. It's a little hard to know, as you said earlier when we were talking before we started recording, like there's no barometer, right? Like nobody knows when is anything going to get back to normal.
And
And
what is normal?
and what
Is
is
normal.
normal even going to be? Like when are people going
Yeah.
to feel okay about going out to a concert?
Or
Um,
even, it's weird. I went to the grocery store yesterday. I did not have a mask on because
mhm.
I I don't know, I just didn't put one on. And most people had masks on. And I thought to myself, how is this going to be the new normal? Like, I can imagine, like, I like seeing people's faces. I can't imagine a society. It's like very dystopian, the thought of like everybody's walking around with a mask and like what's behind. It's bad enough that people are so socially distant,
Yeah.
not social distancing, but so like reluctant to engage with others, and now we're going to be separated by
You mean even in
masks.
normal times?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
especially in New York, as you said, hey, we're waving to people now. Like, you don't fucking do that, man. It's like, but so that's what I'm saying. It's bad enough, and I always talk to people because I like, that's what I like to do. And if they don't want to talk, cool. I'm not, I don't, I'm not gonna force it on somebody, but like, I like to chat if
Yeah.
I'm in a situation just to find out what's, it's like life's faster that way,
Yeah.
and, I would hate, imagine like, just think of every photo you've ever had, and it's like now you all have masks on. That is fucking scary. I mean, you and your wife with your masks. I mean, like, is that like, that's fucking scary, man.
It's
You and your
weird.
family photo with the kids, their mask, and the newborn has a mask. I mean, what the hell? I don't know.
I mean, I like to think that this is an emergent but
Yes,
temporary set of circumstances,
I do too.
but again, I mean, nobody really knows when it's going to go back to normal, and I have no idea when I should be trying to like book more gigs, and
Yeah.
so in some ways, I feel like I'm just kind of focused on the day to day, and like I've been pretty busy with
Great.
teaching,
Yeah,
and
which is great.
so I've been doing a lot of lessons every day online, and but as far as like, I mean, I definitely have the things that I look forward to. I look forward to, yeah, just playing gigs again. I look forward to like having, reasons to write music, because, oh, I really want to hear these guys play together, and I'll, write a piece for this or whatever. It's all those things that we take for granted as working musicians. I had this moment. This is actually when this all first started, where Sophia and I were like just walking around in the neighborhood, and I said something about going on tour. I don't remember what it was, but just mentioned some aspect of it. And I had this moment of like, oh my God, this is like, I might really miss going on tour after a while.
Yeah.
And like I said, I mean, in some ways, I'm still actually really kind of appreciating not being on the road and like kind of getting to sleep in my own bed every night. And for now, it's cool, but it's definitely. I think part of it is like I had this moment of like, what if you know, what if that becomes a thing of the past? And I didn't realize at the time that like, man, enjoy it while you can because you're not going to get to tour anymore or something.
Oh, don't worry about that.
I,
That's
I mean, I very
yeah.
much doubt that. I very
Yeah.
much doubt that. But yeah, I mean, like I was supposed to go on tour in the UK in a couple weeks, and obviously that's off. And I've gotten pretty like, it seems like almost every year in the springtime I've been going to the UK for a while now, and even just like I was going for a run in the park the other day, and the weather was kind of reminding me of like London springtime, and I was really kind of
When it
just
was no
missing
sun and wet.
it. Right, yeah. No, it's just that kind of like chilly and breezy, like fast moving clouds,
Yeah.
and just a certain kind of feel. I don't know what it was, but it just made it felt kind of wistful, like, well, it's not happening this year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who knows? Hopefully it
Who
will.
knows? Yeah,
I'm always optimistic. I'm an optimist. I hope things go back to normal.
yeah.
Another question before we wrap up. How long have you been in New York now?
7.5 years, I
So do you
believe.
feel like you're a New Yorker now? Like, have you noticed changes in things of you from pre and like mannerisms or just things you say? Like you said to me before, I said something about, you said, well, it is what it is. I'm like, bam, you're a New Yorker. But I mean, have you noticed that things about yourself
I
that
think
change?
that kind of like what you were saying about like hearing loss. I think there's probably stuff where maybe some things have changed, and I don't notice that they've changed.
Okay.
So there's that. I think the way I like weird, it's like the way I interpret space is different now, right? Like
Oh yeah.
because like just like our apartment to me, like we're in this new apartment now, and it feels like pretty huge. Like we've got like a ton of space now. It's
Right.
like, it's not, you know, by normal, like American standards,
By
it's not a
normal,
big place.
I know by New York standards though, you're like, yeah,
It's like,
I
man,
get,
this is great. We've got like an extra room where I can like practice music, you know,
yeah,
and someday, God willing, people can stay with us. You know?
yeah, right,
Um,
right,
so, so just that, or even just like when I'm on the street, you know, I try to be really mindful of like, you know, just like, you know, don't just like stop in the middle of the street or in the middle of the sidewalk because, you know, you're probably in somebody's way, you know?
just don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so stuff like that. Um, but I guess too, I mean, I definitely have become, well, on one hand, I feel, I just really like living here. Like I feel really at home here.
Good.
Um, so,
The
so
vibe
that's,
is really addictive, man. Once you're there, that
mhm.
energy, and there's a lot of negative, but that energy is really exhilarating.
It is. And it's just, I really, you know, I genuinely like being around all these different kinds of people and just, you know, it's just a fascinating place. And it's where all this great art happens. So it's great. And I think it's definitely, like it's kind of forced me to be more politically aware, I think, to be
Right.
here because you can't help but be confronted with like class and race and inequality here.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
so I think that it's made me more conscious of like the kind of decisions that I make in the world and what like what kind of stuff I support with what I buy and stuff, you know, stuff like that.
Good.
Um, so I think that's been an influence. And so um, I guess it's turning me into a liberal coastal elite.
So let me ask you one more question before I tell people where to get the record. I asked you this last time you're on the show. As your answer changed, I said, "What's your favorite New York City food?" And you said Italian food, and you gave me that place that I was going to go to. I told Ann
Oh
about because we
damn!
remember we spoke right
I
before I was
do.
going to come
Yeah,
up, and it was like a month or a half ago or something like that. I
yeah.
said, "Babe, we're going to go to this place." Grant, this guy Grant told me about it. What's is that still your favorite food? Italian food?
Boy, you know, there's actually a really good place right here in our neighborhood now as well. That used
Ah,
like we had one chance to go for like a date night before everything shut down. Like once we moved into this new neighborhood,
right.
um, and now of course everything's closed down. And it's like this great, you know, great Italian place. It's still just like I think I have to say, yeah, it's still my favorite. Like
Italian food, yeah.
it's just so great. But you know, I mean, I love. And there's so much great stuff. I love, you know, everybody loves Japanese food, or they should.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man.
Um,
So it's so healthy. It's like you can't eat Japanese food and not feel like, God, this is just
not
so
feel
healthy.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so
There's this
healthy.
actually this really wonderful place called Okonomi in Williamsburg that they do traditional Japanese breakfast there.
Oh, I've never had that.
It's fantastic, and it's like you know, a nice bowl of miso, and I remember maybe the first time we ate there, we had breakfast there one time, and you know, really small place, seats like you know, 12 people or something, maybe less, and and it's just like even just like the bowl of rice is so good. It's like better than any rice you've ever had anywhere. And I remember coming away from that meal and just feeling like this is the best you can possibly feel after a meal. You know,
That's
just like
good,
you feel
man.
so nourished. And so that's I mean I give that I guess they'd have to be tied maybe in that case.
Right on. Good food, man.
You know.
And the complete opposite of that is I've been craving going to Chinatown and having like a giant salty bowl of salty broth with like meat in it.
Yeah, man.
I can't. I don't know why. I feel like a pregnant woman. I don't. I never crave that stuff. But I was telling my wife this. I said, "Go," and she's like, "What's wrong with you? We got to go eat pizza." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but I have this craving. I don't know why." And that's the exact opposite. When you walk out of those places, you feel like, "Oh my God, what did I just put in my body?"
But sometimes that's important. You know? I actually discovered that. So we used to live like basically in Brooklyn, Chinatown before we
Okay.
moved, and there's this good dumpling place which we'd been to a couple times. But I discovered they had this really killing hot and sour soup, which
Right.
I got like a few times right before we moved away. You know,
Okay.
and I just like a little bit too late. I discovered that it was there, but it was like when the weather was still cold. It was just perfect, man. It was so
Yeah. I know. Now I'm starving, dude.
Yeah.
Grant, let me tell people where to get the record. It's always good. You're such a nice guy, man. You really are a very kind
Likewise.
person. You have such good vibes coming out, and I always enjoyed talking to you, man.
It's
And I
great to
guarantee you, when you're playing in front of the stage, that comes out as well. And I'm sure that's a big part of your success, man. So keep being you.
Thanks.
Okay, it's Grant Gordy. The record is called Interpreter. It's a really good record. This is a very talented musician. He's the most humble dude. He has worked really hard. Again, stick around and listen to his story that'll come on right after this show. He's an awesome guy. Um, if you want to buy the record, I would like you to go to Bandcamp and support Grant on Bandcamp. That's the best place to do it. You can stream it from anywhere. If you want to, he's also got a really good website. He got it revised and updated. It's really robust and it's nice. It's at grantgordy.com. And just to spell out Grant, G-R-A-N-T, Gordy is Gordy.com. He's on social media. He has a Facebook page and he's active on that. And he's also active on Instagram. Also, he's been banging out with lessons. If you are interested in working with Grant to do lessons, he has a lessons tab at grantgordy.com. So connect with him there. Let him know what you're looking to do. He's a very talented musician and a really sharp guy as a player, both in multiple, I hate to use the word genres, but jazz, bluegrass, and just roots music. He's a super talented guy. And also he's conducting, if you are looking for to get with Grant, but maybe you're looking for a more economical way than one-on-one lessons. He's been doing a lot of Zoom workshops, and he posts information about them on your Facebook page, Grant?
Yeah, and Instagram as well. I've been kind of putting that all over.
Great. So Instagram or Facebook. Again, it's Grant Gordy. And that's it, man. Anything else I forgot or anything else you want to say?
I think we've pretty much covered everything.
We have talked about politics. Well, not politics. We talked about voting, food,
We got pretty
Chinese
close,
food,
though.
Italian food, pretty close to everything. So, dude, thank you so much for everything. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you. You're such a nice guy, like
likewise,
I said.
man.
And
Great
I'll
to
look
be with
for
you.
what next album. Any advanced thoughts in your heads? What you're gonna do? I know that's like a bad time to ask. It's like, people just had a baby. Oh, you having another one? What the fuck?
Right.
Why would you ask me that?
I am considering, I don't really have a lot of like engineering shops or anything, but I am considering maybe I should just try to make like a solo guitar record while I'm stuck here in the apartment. So I'm actually thinking about it. I might have all the gear I need. We'll see.
Well, right on. Well, keep me posted, man. You come back anytime.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for everything. It's good talking to you. Best of luck up there, man. Hope I'll see you in the city sometime this year.
Yeah, me too.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Don't forget the second part of this, Grant's original interview, is coming up. Thanks so much to Grant Gordy for spending time with us. And most important, especially nowadays, remember that happiness is a choice. So choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. Grant, thanks for everything, brother.
Thanks, man.